for some reason, whatever happened also screwed up all the line items in the DC catalog. They're all the wrong lines. Like, you can look at it and it'll say, okay, this is a Batman book, but the amount of copies it's asking you to order is way wrong for what you have for Batman. And then if you look at the data, it's like, no, it thinks that's a copy of Superman, or it thinks that's a Robin's comic, or whatever.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting out waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dale Bush.
All I'm trying to do is record a podcast. Just your normal Friday night, record a podcast. I admit, I got to the studio a little bit later than normal. It's a lot of traffic. Things happen, so I'm a little bit late. Not terribly late, but, we're starting 20 minutes later than normal. And I come in eating a cookie. And first Dal's like, oh, you didn't bring a cookie for me?
Not how I said it.
I'm sorry, let me redo it. Oh, I thought you had a cookie for me.
No, I want to say, and this is just how I heard it in my head, that it was, you came in and you were eating a cookie, and I asked you how your cookie was, and you said it was okay, and then you had another cookie in your hand, and then you finished your first cookie, and then you started eating the second cookie. You said, the second one, however, and that was when I realized, the second one you brought in was not for me. That was one that you were going to have too.
Yeah, you, and then...
Then I said...
We sit down to record, and Dal's like, no, hold on, I have to go to the bathroom. I'm like, you were in the studio for like a half hour before me. You could have gotten your own cookies.
It's like 45 minutes. Yeah.
Gotten your own... I'm never going to be here before 6.
I mean, I usually get to the studio around 5:30, just in case.
Sure.
I don't want you to have to, wait for me.
Is there not a bathroom connected to the studio? Yes.
Or all the things.
Or start talking about cookies whilst you're
none of
coincidentally
that.
out of the room.
Yeah, none of that. I don't want any of that
before
to
you
happen.
get back into the studio.
Yeah.
I talk about the cookie. Then I did. I went back out and got Dal a cookie.
You did, thank you.
After he spurned the first one I offered him.
That was from your mouth and you had half eaten.
Spurned the second container I got him.
They were the big cookies, and I needed a little snack. Not like the big cookies are like almost a meal.
For the record, the cookies are delicious. Thank you, Margie.
They're all delicious. Yeah, I had one of the big ones last night as a meal, basically, and it was really good.
You could have gotten the bathroom the whole time.
I had it while I was watching the most recent episode of What We Do in the Shadows, which was not my favorite for the season.
No.
Well,
I'm still midway through season
sloppy.
2 and haven't gotten any further, and nor do I think I will by the next time we record.
Probably not.
So, we definitely won't.
Mm-hmm.
Today was the worst Friday I have worked in, years.
Yeah, boy, I was looking at those numbers and I thought, did they close?
If the dollar amount that we do is a report card grade, we got a D- F+.
Yeah, pretty bad. And I mean, like, some of that total is only as high as it is because an out-of-state customer is like, yeah, you can ship my books.
Still counts.
It still counts.
Look,
it's still
when I gave my letter
low.
grade to myself, I took away employee purchases and I took away tax.
Sure.
If we added those back in, solid D.
Yep.
So there you go. I was giving the real, the full,
I would say D-.
The picture.
I wouldn't say F+.
Tuesday had more buyers and a higher dollar amount.
Yep. That's why it's a D-.
I don't know.
When Friday becomes our worst day of the week, it's like, what is happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just weather-based. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, I was talking to Molly Jane about just how business operates for Challengers and sort of the things that can be a modifier to it. And I'd said that the biggest modifier we have is whether or not it rains. Cold, snow, heat, doesn't matter. But if it gets cloudy, if it looks like it's going to rain, people just change their plans entirely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's paper products, I get it, but
sure.
like, it doesn't even have to be raining. It just has to look like rain enough for people to go, I'm not going to the comic shop.
We had someone come in today and and it was somebody who was in last week for the Pokemon Celebrations cards.
Oh, okay.
Very nice person. They came in and they said, I heard a rumor that you're getting more Celebration stuff. And I went,
That is only a rumor, and we don't know who started it.
That is not true at all. I'm like, what you saw last week was it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we talked about this, about
I don't think so.
Specifically Pokemon Celebrations, but Pokemon cards and Magic cards, mainly Pokemon cards, are so hot. Allocations from distributors are severe. So severe that for Celebrations specifically, we were not allowed to order anything. Our gaming card distributor just said, here's what you can have.
Yeah. Which, I mean, we weren't required to get any of it. We could have just said no or less.
But we couldn't ask for anything.
Right.
It's like, of available product, this is all we're able to give you.
This is your allocation as a store, predetermined by Wizards of the Coast and our gaming distributor.
So the fact that there was a rumor we're getting more is impossible because we would have no idea that we're getting any more.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it.
No.
I mean, in general with Pokemon cards, like I try to tell people, like when we get allocated, that the rest of that order could fill at some point, but I mean, basically over the past year, it hasn't. What we get on our initial wave, that's it. That's what we get. We'll get more of the next product, but we're not going to get more of what we already got in. It's gone. They didn't. What they made, they shipped out. The end.
Although maybe 7-8 years from now, we'll get a overstock list where we can get more Celebration stuff for like $400 a box.
There's a pallet of it sitting in some warehouse in Arizona or something.
Right,
already
but
shrink
it's
wrapped.
$400 a box or what have you.
Yep.
Something like that, which, fine. I mean, that's the way it works.
Yeah, it's collectible product. I mean, that's kind of how they...
We're lucky to have what we have.
Yeah, for sure.
We always have an internal debate, like, should we hold some back and then so we could spread it out and have it for longer? And it's always like, what's the point?
Yeah,
it's still going to get bought.
It's all going to sell.
We wouldn't be holding it back to mark it up and save it later. Just be to,
It's like, would you rather make $80 in one day or $20 each for 4 straight days? Like,
yeah,
I'd probably rather make the $80 in one day and just be done with it.
Yeah, like today, I understand that way of thinking.
That's about what you made today. No, I'm kidding. That's
a
joke.
Now.
That's mean.
Hey now.
It's a non-factual statement.
I mean, I did make $80, but I also made...
You made more than $80.
Correct. Yeah, like 84?
Mm-hmm. I thought you were taking away credits in Texas.
Oh, yeah, you're right. At the end of the last person in, like literally the after 5 o'clock, like the door is already locked, but you're still in the store kind of person.
Right.
They bought a 99-cent card box and paid with a 20.
Amazing.
Like,
thanks for that.
Come on.
Here's your $18 and change.
Yeah,
thank you.
You're 18 to 91 and change.
Thank you.
And at that point, I'm like, was this the only cash transaction of the day? But no, there had been one more.
I want to say we had that on a Sunday or Monday. Monday, I think it was. Where, like, the only cash transaction was someone bought a $3.99 comic book.
Yeah. And he paid with a 50?
No, they paid with $4.
Great. Love it.
Which
don't care. Like, if that's what you do, fine.
Which was great because when Molly Jane and I are closing out the register, I'm like, oh, this is super simple. You don't even need to count the cash and coin. Just you put $4 in the cash and 1 cent less on the ending because it was $3.99. And she was staring at the envelope for like a minute. And I'm like, no, just do that. And she's like, because she's used to a different closing out procedure where cash and coin are one total.
Oh, I see.
So the idea of like, you got to split it.
Yeah.
You got to do $4 and minus 1 cent to get to $3.99. Well, so even though I'm explaining it and I'm like, just do that. And I'm standing right there. She still wasn't doing it because she's like, that just didn't sound right to her. But she eventually did it and it all balanced. And that was hopefully a learning experience for her.
So the hilarious part about that change total, and I don't know that this is exactly it, but I'll pretend it was. Mm-hmm. Let's say at the start of the day, Monday, your change total was $15.73.
Uh-huh.
So at the end of the day, it was $15.72.
Uh-huh.
So at the start of Tuesday, it was $15.72. At the end of Tuesday, it was $15.71. It just kept, and then at the start of Wednesday, $15.71. It was just a penny for 3 days.
Yeah.
Just minus 1 penny each of those days.
I think we talked about this back when River North was a thing, that one of the most like frustrating ends to a day is when you have to count down a drawer. You have to count all the cash and all the coin, and then you find out like you did like $4.17 in transactions for cash. Everything else was cards because like River North was
mainly cards.
Even before the pandemic was almost all cards. So when you would have those 1 or 2 cash transactions. It's like, you just made like 6 minutes of work for me at the end of the day.
I would love it, because I wouldn't always remember if I had cash or not.
Sure.
But I would love it when the charge total matches the end of day total right away. Like, oh, that's it.
Yep.
Not going to count the change.
Yep.
No counting change. Carry this total over.
Yep.
And it was like that for us in the early days of the pandemic as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, mostly because a lot of what we were dealing with were, like, before the people were allowed back in the store, everything was, like, online invoices, and people, like, you'd hold the terminal out through the door so someone could use their card. So, and even when, we reopened to the public, there was still a sense of, like, should we be using cash? Like, by that point, the idea of, like, you know, your cash is going to cause a COVID transmission was largely debunked. It wasn't seen as a thing that was a main vector. But people were still a little leery of, like, should we just avoid even that element of, like, contact? Yeah.
And I do appreciate the people that still to this day say, are you taking cash?
Sure. I mean, best practices. If anyone doesn't want to, like, I wouldn't, just in general, I wouldn't mind less germs being spread around.
Sure. And
we don't touch people's cards anymore.
Yeah.
For that reason.
Every once in a while, someone will, like, hand that card and I'll grab it, like, oh, no, I don't mean to take this. Have it back.
I always go, cool, I just need you to hold on to that for me. And then here's the terminal, and they put the card in, and they tap it against the screen, and we're done.
Every single cash transaction, okay, it's hand sanitizer after.
Oh, sure.
Every single one. Every single one.
I don't know if I go that far, but I definitely, like, you know, it's still just general, you know, germ mitigation where
General germ mitigation?
You know, before if you're just handling cash and handling books and things like that, I don't feel as much of a need for it. But if there's ever a transition to, like, oh, and now I'm having a snack, or now I have to blow my nose or whatever, it's like we are sanitizing or washing my hands first and then doing the next step.
It's weird you'd say have a snack, because that's not a thing you do anymore.
It's really not, but, like, occasionally, you know, if I'm in the middle of a meal, or if I have if we had snacks in the store, I would maybe, you know, be more.
And I know that was a mutual decision. In fact, you let it be my decision. I said no snacks, but there was a point today, I'm like, why are there no snacks here?
It's October. Where's the candy?
Right.
At Walgreens.
There should be snacks.
I wonder if either of us are going to buckle on that when we go into Walgreens on November 1st.
Oh, yeah, right.
And all of the candy is, like, drastically discounted.
Sure.
And it's like, well...
Be a fool not to. You're saving money.
Reister bunnies for 55% off. Well, maybe 2 bags.
A couple of weeks ago, Dave Scheidt had told me that there's a new... basically what Ibsento is a poke place called Mammoth Poke.
Yeah, I think I saw that. We were going up to Art of Chicken at one point.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, there's a poke place.
And it's... And this is not really comic related, but it's...
Well, Pokemon.
You build your bowl.
Sure, okay.
With, you know, what you want your base to be. Rice, noodles, tortilla chips, things like that.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then you add your protein.
Sure.
You know.
Tuna.
Shrimp, tuna, salmon.
Sure.
Chicken, whatever. Tofu.
Okay. Sure.
And then you add all sorts of other stuff to it. And then at the end, a sauce.
Chicken and rice bowl sounds pretty good.
And Gina got one a couple weeks ago, but...
She like it?
She did, but I got to help her build it. She's like, what goes this with? And, like, it was really scientific measuring system and flavor comparisons.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But today she's like, hey, I'm going to get Mammoth Poke. Do you want anything? I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let me take a look. Mm-hmm. And I built what seemed like a terrible poke bowl.
Right.
It was delicious.
Explain it to me.
It was, so I used noodles as the base.
Sure, makes
but
sense.
it doesn't say what kind of noodles.
Okay.
So it was really thin, white, cold Asian noodles.
Okay, sure.
Little, like, looks like shredded cheese, really.
Sure. And
then you have your choice of 3 or 5 proteins.
Oh, okay.
5 is too many.
5's a lot.
Well, I'm just saying 5 is too much. So in this order, my proteins were seasoned chicken.
Okay.
Tofu.
Okay.
Seasoned chicken.
Great.
And then I got sweet onions and crunchy garlic.
Okay.
And then on step 4, which is so many things I can't even break it down, but it's everything like pineapple, mango, not necessarily just fruit.
Sure.
Spicy bean sprouts.
Okay.
Like all of these different things.
Sure.
I went just with crunchy onions to match my sweet onions and my crunchy garlic.
Sure, okay.
And then for the sauce, I went garlic aioli.
Okay.
Which sounds terrible, right?
It sounds unlikely.
It's so, like, you're thinking of, when you go to Small Cheval and get a cup of garlic. It's not like that at all.
Is it a lot thinner?
It was
a lot thinner.
It's so minor, you barely tasted it, but it's just enough to wet everything.
Like an olive oil sort of situation?
Like, kind of, yeah. I almost went with a wasabi mayonnaise.
Sure, okay.
But I went, and by the way, my two things are basically just mayonnaise.
Yeah.
The sauces are vastly different than that.
Okay.
Like, I went for those because I like those.
Like a dressing, yeah.
Really good.
Okay.
Really good.
Good to know.
Really liked it. Also, super glad I was wearing a mask the rest of the day because I had multiple iterations of onions and garlic.
Yeah, boy. Oof.
But it was good. So, thank you, Dave Scheidt, for that recommendation. We probably wouldn't have done it initially without that. And I even had said we should have called Dave and asked if he wanted any.
Sure.
It's only fair. You know the way people go to Lago and like, oh, do you want to go? We'll go to Lago. I'm like, no, thanks for asking though.
Yeah.
But that was good. But so anyway, that was a story from the Friday because one of the things we did today.
Got it.
Comic related. I reached out to Rachel Bard because we're out of everything.
Out of everything.
So I'm like, look, don't even tell me what you have. Just give. What would you ask for?
5 of everything.
10 of everything.
10 of everything it is. I love it.
10 of everything, please. We don't care about shipping. Your stuff is small. If you want to ship it out to us,
right? You don't have to come by the store if it's unpleasant to do so because of COVID or
she will be coming by the store Wednesday right at close.
Okay.
To drop everything off because she just
sounds like a
reprinted
problem.
everything.
Oh, great!
So we will have, and I printed out the invoice so Molly Jane can see what the prices are. And
did we pay already? Is that
no? We're going to pay her when she comes in.
Okay, that's cool.
It's a cash payment, and we haven't had enough cash yet.
Sure.
So we're like $30 shy of
the
largest sum we've ever paid her at one time.
Sure. Do you want me to set that aside before doing the deposit just to make sure we have it for her?
I already have it in an envelope.
Do you? Okay, great.
That says her name on it.
So you'll take care of it tomorrow.
Well, I mean, if I can.
If you do $30 in cash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not always.
Right. Today was, $11 in cash.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah. We had a good Monday and it was $3.99.
Yeah.
It was not even $4 in cash.
So it's mainly set aside, but I just wanted to say that now. So, people listening will know that as of next weekend, we'll have a massive Rachel Bard restock.
Yeah, that's good.
And if you don't know who Rachel Bard is, she is the creator who has all of those great tiny little books like Our Friend the Bees or Gradulax, like all these thumb-sized books that are super tiny.
Yep.
They're just the most fun, enjoyable.
She did the matchbook one. She did the one that was inside a seashell. She did the one that was one of those little like
fuzzballs,
puffballs, and it unfolded to tell a story. She did the one where the character in the tiny comic makes their own even tinier comic that nestles inside the book.
Yep.
There's a lot of really fun art project versions of comics like that, where the storytelling is really good and the art is great, but like the physical object itself is more than worth owning.
I think the most recent one was totally awesome about the toads.
Yeah, maybe.
And then she told me what she's working on next, but it's not done yet. So I'm happy for that restock. We've never mentioned that we have a full line of James Tynan's enamel pins.
Yeah.
And that includes characters from Razor Blades, his horror anthology, several different Something is Killing the Children pins, a couple different Erica Slaughter ones, one of the House of Slaughter, the Department of Truth.
Yep.
So we just got them and put them out, and people find them little by little, but we never made a big deal like, hey, people, we have all of these pins. And the cool thing about his pins is he makes them himself. We got them directly from him.
Yeah.
We didn't order these from Diamond.
Maybe we should do an Instagram or Twitter post about
this. I took a photo of everything, and then I never did anything with it.
Okay.
I do that a lot.
Yeah, I think there was one point where we'd gotten in all of those magnets and like the Kuga pin and the Magic pin.
You the Marcelo Bied pins.
Yeah,
you took the.
I did, and I
photo.
think at the time we were like, there's a thing that we want to keep front and center on Instagram. It was, I think, the T-shirt Kickstarter. You're like, I want that to be the first thing, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, it's fine. Like those posts can go up whenever.
I know. It's hilarious though, because all those Kickstarter t-shirt posts got like, a handful of likes.
Negative engagement.
yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Honestly, product engagement, minimal.
Yeah.
Posts where it's you or me in it, those get the most reaction.
Well, the faces that run the places.
However, our biggest, far and away our biggest Instagram post of all time was this year.
Yeah.
And it was just a block of text. And it was just the person objecting to our Black Lives Matter sign.
Oh, right, yeah.
But I mean, that got triple our current best ever.
Sure.
So it's an interesting platform because it's the kind of thing that how many people stop to read a block of text? I guess more people do than look at a wall of comics.
Apparently.
Like, we will always keep doing now, as long as I remember, the new release wall, because people can blow that up and see what's on it.
Sure.
Like, I think it's a good resource. And even if it's only like 2 or 3 people who use it, they use it, people see it and come in for things.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But yeah, it's more retailers are talking about moving to different social media platforms, especially for discussion with retailers. And I'm like, no, I want less.
Yeah.
Like we never did Snapchat for the store. And while I have had twice a TikTok account, because the first one just went away, never posted for the store.
No.
I can't bring myself to do it. It's not for me.
Yeah.
But it's not supposed, I mean, it should be for our customers, but I feel weird trying to create content for young viewers when in reality, all I want to do is direct them to the content that is for them.
Sure. So it's a thing that I always have a little bit of a problem with, because almost every marketer or PR person will tell you that you want to put yourself where your customers are. You don't wait for them to come to you. You go to places where they are to make yourself available to them.
Yes, I understand.
But on the other hand, it's like, do you need to be on 17 different platforms barging in and going like, by the way, Challenger sells comic books or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, hey, here's a, lip sync TikTok video where we hold up a copy of House of Slaughter #1. Like, don't bother. Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Like, it's not.
That's great if you do it and it works for you. It's not for me, man.
Yeah, it definitely feels sweaty and unnecessary, and I would rather. We are available on a bunch of different platforms where people would normally expect to find engagement with stores and brands. Like, stores and brands don't need to colonize every single social media platform to make it like every other social media platform.
Well,
which most people are going to these new social media platforms because they hate how the older platforms work and how gross it is to try and exist in a place and connect with other people in a meaningful way when all these brands show up and everything is monetized and all of your things can be boosted if you pay a bunch of money and get put in front of people who have no interest in them.
Yeah.
But
also, that's what we're doing. We're a brand looking for eyeballs.
Sure. But, I mean, we can be a brand that's looking for eyeballs in places where people are already, not okay with, but used to the idea of brands existing in those spaces. Brands don't need to keep existing in all the new spaces because most people are not asking for that. There's enough places where brands are. Maybe, TikTok. I'm sure TikTok is branded from Hell to Breakfast, but, I don't feel a need to be there. I don't think that's the thing that Challengers needs as part of its identity.
I would like to point out that I've never heard the phrase from Hell to Breakfast.
Oh, really?
And I don't understand it. Is hell the furthest point away from breakfast?
I don't know the origins of that phrase. I've seen it a bunch, and it's largely a more southern phrase. But it basically, I mean, you can get it from the context. Something is, a very large amount of, or a very long duration of.
Okay.
That sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, it did seem like it was a vast space.
Yeah.
This isn't something I was going to talk about, but seeing as how 2 different DC emails just popped up on
DC
my phone.
fandom is going on right now, Patrick.
Yes. So earlier in the day, retailers had said, "What is this Batman Fortnite Foundations?"
That we've already FOC'd, I think.
No, we haven't.
I mean, it arrives in stores October 26th.
Yeah, I don't recall ever ordering a single thing like that.
Uh-oh. Okay.
I would feel like, as the person who does the DC FOCs, I'd remember it, but I think that's what the email you're getting is about.
I mean, there's nothing in here about when it FOCs because it already did.
Oh, huh. I don't know that I knew what it was.
Okay. I mean, it didn't even have a cover on it. It was basically the cover was just orange and it said Batman Fortnite Foundation, and the creative team was like Scott Snyder.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And then, like, who was going to be in it and what it was going to be. They just announced it is a bonus code to download a special Batman Who Laughs outfit.
Okay.
And Batman Who Laughs themed Fortnite loading screen.
Uh-huh.
That's it. That's what you get with it.
Okay.
It's by Epic Games Chief Creative Officer Donald Mustard, who did some of the variant covers for the original Batman Fortnite series. Batman Fortnite 0 Point writer Christos Gage, and acclaimed Batman and Dark Knight's Death Metal writer Scott Snyder.
Well, that's good to know that it's by human beings.
It is. Several human beings. That much is pretty clear here. Greg Capullo is doing the A cover.
Okay. Maybe we ordered it. I don't remember.
I hope he did.
It's hard to keep Batman things straight, Dal, because...
There's so many of them, Patrick.
Oh, I remember. I had to pick a number that was between the ridiculous peaks that we got to.
Yeah. Is it? I don't remember if this was a returnable one or not.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I knew at the time, though. That may have played a factor into it.
I remember being
I have
specifically
gone
frustrated.
up on things that are specifically DC returnable.
Sure. I remember being specifically frustrated because DC had released in one of their weekly emails that more information about Batman Fortnite 0 Point Foundation would be
was
arriving
coming out at Fandom.
on Fandom, and they also specified that FOC was 2 weeks before that, and I went, "You have got to be kidding me!" That felt like the biggest dick move. Is we're holding off on the announcement until after you have to order it, because that's when we want to have a big splashy announcement to have it at DC Fandom. I mean, could have released the book later, I guess, but probably not. Epic Games probably wanted the code to go out October 26th, and that's when it's going to go out. Book is just a delivery vehicle for that code. That's all that matters.
I did the FOCs today for Superman, Son of Kal-El number 5.
Uh-huh.
The issue in which we find out Jonathan Kent is bisexual. Oh no, he's a perfectly normal thing that a huge amount of the population is. Oh no, let's complain. So after I did that, somebody called looking to reserve it.
Perfect.
And then when I told them that there were multiple covers, they asked for 2.
Okay. 2 specific ones, or they just wanted 2 of whatever?
Well, after I described it, there were 2 specific ones.
Okay.
B and C.
The 2 Pride covers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we figured people were going to want.
So now I'm like, do I go higher? I can still change it.
I mean, literally one person asked.
Right.
I'm going to, after we finish recording, I want to jump online to do some stuff in ComicSuite and check some stuff. But, I mean, to my knowledge, no subscribers have said, I want that book that I don't normally get, and I want those variant covers. Which is usually, it's not a perfect system, but it's usually a pretty decent bellwether for, are casual people going to want this? If people who are already, used to reserving comics do not feel the need to reserve that comic book that they don't normally get, it usually means that the average public is not going to be that keen into it.
Also, we found repeatedly that when DC has a press announcement that is released within plenty of time for us to adjust our numbers, nobody cares.
Yeah, I mean, the joke of this is that if they had done the usual Marvel thing of announcing it the Monday before the book came out, we would have been getting calls for it night and day.
Yeah.
But when they tell stores... It's like when Punchline debuted and no one knew what to expect. Calls like crazy. Multiple reprints. But when DC's like, oh, we're going to do the first ever Punchline cover, nobody cared.
Yeah.
Because stores were just like, fine, I'll order a ton. And then that was it. Interest immediately evaporated. So, yeah, I mean, while I think it's an interesting, plot point, just by itself, okay, sure, that makes John Kent more interesting than if he were straight. Sure, it's an interesting development to explore with a superhero character in the DC universe, because it's not the status quo for a character in the DC universe.
One of the weirdest things... I'm sorry.
Sure, I was going to say that most comic fans don't seem to care a lot, because they already were not reading that book, or they were and they do care, but they're already buying it.
Yeah, I mean, it's that book does better than the other Superman books for us.
Yeah, but it doesn't do outstanding. I mean, Nightwing still massively outsells it.
Right.
But the other thing is that a lot of the interest in this, people who are excited about it or okay with it, don't seem motivated to buy a book because of it. Like, the people who are the most active in talking about it are people who are, like, knee-jerking their distaste of it. Even if they don't understand the context of the story or the character. Like, just having to make it clear to people, this isn't the Superman who's married to Lois Lane. That's a different character.
Or
this is his kid. Or
the one who loves Lois Lane.
Lois Lane, which is how it always should have been, according to certain right-wing pundits.
That's
or
right.
Politicians. I don't even know what the difference is anymore. Yeah, I don't expect people to care about this in a way that motivates them to go out and buy the book. I'm sure there's a lot of fans that are excited about it as a plot point or as a story idea. But again, they're not necessarily people who are going to go out and buy a $5 or $4 comic book because of it. They're just excited about more representation, and that's great. But it doesn't always translate into sales for a book, unfortunately.
The weird thing about it is that there's still a whole other issue that comes out beforehand. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious if it's like maybe, the last page is them kissing, and then the next issue is all about it, kind of thing.
I kind of doubt it.
Like Marvel did that recently with Spider-Man gets a new costume in this issue. Mm-hmm. Actually, he gets it the issue before.
And also nobody cared about that.
Yeah.
Wow, did no one care about that?
But also it's like, it's this issue, we'll order higher. No, it was actually the issue before. We just told you the other one.
And also we tweaked it a bunch because everybody hated how it looked.
I mean, it lasted, 3 issues?
Yeah, it was for
issues?
one storyline. It was a costume that wasn't like his brand new costume. It was just like, this is a story-driven gimmick. And they wanted to publicize it because, sure, Spidey gets a new costume is a big deal. I mean, around the time of that issue's release, I think we were already into a few months of the Miles Morales game. And the Spider-Man games are all about, like, here's the 20 costumes you can get throughout the game.
Yeah.
And as, you know, Marvel has done, I think, 2 different theme months of all Miles Morales video game covers. Like, Miles in a different video game suit teaming up with the character from the book or whatever. Captain Marvel or Shang-Chi or Shang-Chi
or the character of the
whatever.
book dressed up as Miles.
That's true as well.
That was in, like, the Spider-Woman cover.
Yeah.
One of those covers is like that.
Yeah.
And going back to DC Fandom and their announcements, have you heard more of the announcements?
I heard the Robbins announcement. They showed off the variant covers for the first 5 issues of that book.
I saw that there was an announcement. I didn't read what it was.
So basically, I mean, some of it is just, Tim Seeley is excited about the book and the artist is excited about the book. But the big thing was, like, we're doing variant covers for each of the issues, and each variant cover is a different Robin from the book.
Okay.
But the gimmick is that they're all working out.
Okay.
So, they're all super thirsty images for Dick Grayson and Jason Todd and Tim Drake. And then, the most tasteful one is the Stephanie Brown one.
Sure.
I'm like, are they going to get, like real...
misogynistic?
Not misogynistic, but just, like, real, like, I don't want to say sexual, but, like, sensual, maybe, with the designs. Because they definitely did with the Dick Grayson one.
I mean, I hope that the tamest one would be Damien, the child.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't show the 6th one, so I don't know if it's Damien or if it's Cassie. I don't know who all is in the book.
Yeah.
It was...
But, I mean, it wouldn't, like, Cassie wasn't ever technically Robin.
That's true. Yeah, I guess so it would have to be... I gotta look at this now. I'll show you some of the covers.
You said 6, but that's only...
Yeah, I'm sure I forgot somebody. That's the Dick Grayson one.
Oh, man, I'll use that for the...
That's the Jason Todd one.
Okay. All right. Dick Grayson's leaner is what they're saying.
Yeah, that's the Tim Drake one.
Okay.
This is the Stephanie Brown one on 4.
Okay.
Stephanie Brown, by far the most fully dressed character. Which is, like, I think it's a fun...
I think that's great.
I think it's definitely speaking to, like, what the audience for a Robin's book really wants.
Sure.
They don't need to see Stephanie Brown objectified, but they do need to see Dick Grayson objectified.
I would assume that Damien is, in that same gym, still in his full gear.
Probably.
That's what I would expect out of him.
So yeah, that's the first 4. Maybe is it a 5-issue series, not a 6-issue? I don't know.
Well, it's the storyline that won the, no pun intended, round robin voting on the DC.com website. It was all these pitches, battled it out, and fan votes wanted to see this book the most. Yeah,
it certainly seems like one of the most marketable concepts, just in the sense of, like, the superhero fans know these characters and have wanted to see them teaming up for a while, and this is giving them what they want, rather than a brand new concept or something where, like, the writer would have to contrive, like, but why is this book existing?
We honestly thought it was going to be J.L. Gay that won. That was not the title of the book.
Yeah.
Was it like JLBTQA?
Was it JLQ or something?
I think it was it might have been JLQ, but
yeah, maybe. But even that was just like, well, here's a bunch of LGBTQ characters that don't usually team up, but like now they're all in a book together. Why? When this is like, because these characters are all Robins, and also, I mean, as it turned out, like doing a Robins book at the time that like Wayne Family Adventures is hitting big on Webtoon, and they're so big that they were, and I mean they were already going to before the thing even launched, making a live action adaptation of it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man, Robins is really striking while the iron's hot.
New Catwoman creative team.
Yeah, Teenie Howard, and I can't remember who the artist is.
Nico Leone,
yeah.
covers by Jeff DeCal.
Yeah, I saw the first cover, and I'm like, why is she wearing stripper heels? And then I read the description. She goes undercover in a strip club. Like, oh, okay, that makes sense then. Sure, okay.
New logo.
Yeah, I don't think I noticed.
Oh, man, it's an entirely new logo.
Okay.
It's got a giant O with a diamond in the middle.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Surprising everyone, a new Batman miniseries.
Yeah, Batman the Knight. Is
Batman
it that
the Knight, a 10-issue series by Chip Zdarsky.
And Carmine
DiGiandomenico, who I like a lot.
I think he's very good. Yeah, I was sad that he was so frequently on books that I was not reading for the last few years. This is a very Batman Year Zero sort of book. It's trying to do a 10-issue series that really charts like Bruce Wayne from leaving Gotham City to start his mission to train to become Batman to finishing that training. Like, there's been elements of that part of his journey in a lot of different books over the years, and this is
even right now in Batman the Detective.
Yeah, so this is Chip Zdarsky trying to take all of that and compile it all into one story, so that if people wanted to get that part of Bruce Wayne's life, here's the one comic that incorporates all of that stuff.
No hyperbole, but Chip Zdarsky said issue 1 of that series is the best thing he's ever written.
Yeah, he said in his newsletter that people, I guess, had expressed concern to him that, you know, committing to a 10-issue kind of prestige-y Batman project might get in the way of his previous commitments like Daredevil, and he'd said they won't because he finished writing Batman the Knight a while ago.
He's on issue 7 right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think he'd said that it was done in his newsletter, but I guess he still had some more to go.
He said that he was excited that they gave him such a lead time for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's pretty far into that.
Yeah, so that's great. But yeah, I mean, obviously, no surprises. There's a bunch of new Batman projects in January.
Yep.
Shocker.
I think those are the only fandom announcements that I saw.
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
I think it just started when you and I had started recording.
Oh, okay. Fine. Now, let's talk about the other big retail news from today.
Okay.
That is, I think you don't know what I'm talking about yet, because you don't seem angry.
I don't think so.
The news, the letter that Image sent us?
Didn't see that.
Okay, so there's
I saw the letter Boom sent about something that's coming with children hardcover.
Sure, I hope you liked it.
I didn't. I mean, I appreciate that they laid out their rationale and logic for why they did what they did, but there's a point where it's basically we could have done A or B and we thought A was better, and as I read it, I'm like, no, B was better. Like, we were talking about it Wednesday morning, and I'm like, they should have done B before I even knew the choice was between A and B.
Right.
Yeah, anyway.
So, there's a lot of supply chain issues.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some shipping issues.
Saga is pushed back indefinitely.
And this week, Image has... It's a weird week coming up.
Oh, no, yeah, I did. It wasn't from Image. It was from Diamond, though, wasn't it? This letter? Well, tell me what it is, and maybe I do know it.
Oh, I think you know what it is.
Okay.
So some retailers got allocated quantities of books. And it's a small Marvel week, and this week would have been, for Image, would have been Gunslinger Spawn #1 in all of its billion covers.
Yeah, which a lot of stores ordered like 1,000+ copies of.
Yeah, and King Spawn #3. And a handful of other stuff. But then there's a bunch of stuff that got bumped a week. Like Walking Dead.
Walking Dead Deluxe. A reprint book.
Yeah.
I mean, issue 25, but it's a reprint book.
There's like 5 books that we weren't getting this week that Image is like, hey, they're coming out next week.
Right.
So I guess completely for retailers complaining, Image or Diamond, I forget who, basically said...
Diamond sent out the email, but I don't know who authorized it.
They basically said, all of this week's Image books, hold them.
Yeah, you can't sell them on the 20th. You have to hold them till the 27th now. Even if you weren't affected by this at all.
Which we were affected by 3 comics total.
Yeah,
3 single issues.
Yeah, not 3 titles, but three copies.
Yeah. And I had somebody come in today being like, yeah, is Gunslinger Spawn out next week? I'm like, if you would have asked me this a half hour ago, I would have said yes. Yeah. But, so we need to, all the product we're getting in this week,
right,
we have to hold for a week.
Yeah, can't sell it.
And Marvel already has a half week because a lot of their books got delayed by a week.
Right.
So we were looking at things like Gunslinger Spawn to make up for...
To help fill that hole.
Yeah. And now they need us to hold everything for a week.
Yep.
And I know that they're doing it for the benefit of retailers that aren't getting everything. But I seriously wonder if that is... AEW Unrestricted 7 that might have just gone up now. Oh no, I can't finish a podcast knowing that there's a series of figures that I may need to buy. How is this possible?
Oh no.
What's happening?
By the time this podcast finishes, you'll be on wave 6.
Wait, what?
Like when you order AEW figures, you're on subsequent
yeah,
waves.
okay, gotcha. Yeah. It just we use wave twice, but in two different ways. Waves, no ways. What was he talking about? Oh yeah. I don't know that it affected everybody in the same city equally or not, but
it's hard to tell. Like oftentimes when that happens, it's like regional,
Yeah.
Like whatever was shipping out of this warehouse, these people didn't get, but the other warehouse was fine.
I thought you'd be angry by that news.
I'm disappointed in it. I've always felt like that was a sort of like the idea of like, well, if someone in California can't sell it, then the people in New York shouldn't be able to sell it. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not going to affect sales in California if someone in New York got a chance to buy it. Like, I feel like it's solving a problem that doesn't really exist.
It's also going to create a huge amount of shelf space issues the next 2 weeks.
Oh, for sure.
Because we're going to have nothing to put on the shelves this week, and then, almost...
Double-size Marvel Week, double-size Image Week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily...
Oh, you're not going to care about Wave 7.
Okay. Luckily, the new Reckless hardcover, Destroy All Monsters, is not affected. You can still put that out.
Right, okay.
Because that'll be the majority of our...
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they said that, like, basically the graphic novels from trade paperbacks were not part of this. So good news. The new Deadly Class volume can go out on the shelf.
Yeah.
AEW Unrivaled 7 is 2 new Young Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
FTR.
Okay.
Nyla Rose.
Uh-huh.
Lance Archer.
Didn't I already order those? I feel like I did.
Estimated mid-October.
Right, but I mean...
AEW Unrivaled 7, that's what we're looking at, right?
Right. Did you get the email?
No.
Okay.
I don't get those emails.
Okay.
I went to their site to look
for
you. AEW
Thanks.
Unmatched Series 2, did you do those already?
I don't remember.
That is Sting, Santana and Ortiz, Ty Conte, Wardlow, MJF in a robe.
I really can't remember.
Okay. Well, you can check them out later tonight.
But
no.
What? You finish the podcast. I have to go get some more cookies.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it and I was just like, well, that's a bummer. But like, there are things that I will still make me angry, even though I should have stopped getting angry about them a while ago. That's not one of them.
Okay.
That one's just like, yep, that sucks.
I mean, a more dedicated store would go in and alter their new release lists online.
Okay. I mean, I was already going to go in and alter the on-sale dates in ComicSuite so it doesn't pull them up on people's accounts.
That's fair. I can't do anything about the email that everybody got yesterday.
Yep. The one that probably talks about Gunslinger right at the top. Gunslinger Spawn.
I mean...
It gets mentioned.
Does it? Okay.
I would hope you did. It's a gigantic image number 1 that we're getting like 6 covers for.
Well, I mean, the gigantic image book is Destroy All Monsters.
Of course. I wasn't expecting you to, write a glowing review enticing people to buy Gunslinger Spawn, but certainly making them aware of it doesn't seem like it would be out of hand.
So, things that get you angrier than that, then, I think they're related to ComicSuite.
Oh, ComicSuite.
And maybe DC Comics?
Oh, that's one of the things I have to do once we get off the podcast, is I have to log into the system and start working on how screwed up the orders are going to be this month. One of the things I want to check and make sure is when the pull box orders actually close, because pull box says they close on the 18th.
I already got an email. I got an email today from Pullbox saying all these things are put into your account, and it included Nightwing. So that's the email you usually get when it closes.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't usually get those, so I'll go in tonight and I'll double check that, because I need to check and make sure that the DC stuff is going to download correctly. B, I need to make sure that the special orders actually did go in so that you can start doing the orders and not having to wait until like next Tuesday to do them. And then C, I need to make sure that it didn't double download everyone's subscriptions again, because if it did that, this is the last month we're using Pullbox.
Sure.
Shame to have to do that, but yeah, definitely Pullbox is causing a lot more problems on the back end, and ComicSuite is now completely breaking on the back end, and it's just real bad. I was talking to Brian from Managed Comics last night, and basically just venting and being like,
I'm surprised you didn't tell me any of that conversation yet.
A lot of it was I can tell you about it later.
Was it about me?
It was all about you and cookies, and how you don't like to share them.
Were you eating cookies the whole time you're talking to him?
Was not. I didn't eat
Was
a
he
single
eating
cookie.
cookies as well?
He was not. He was on video, so I could see that he was not eating any cookies. But anyway, like I'd explained all the problems we're having, and he had kind of said at one point that like he wanted Managed Comics to be ready to go before October, because he knew that the ComicSuite was kind of going to fall apart, and he wanted to have an option available for people. But the idea of building out an entire point of sale system and subscription management thing, and working with stores to make those all work and have it incorporate all the different vendors that are now doing orders for comics to comic book stores is more complicated than he had anticipated. And they're getting to the point where there's less week-to-week errors on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and so they can start building in some of the more crucial things for it, but it's still not ready to go. And in the meantime, we found out that a recent patch that ComicSuite pushed out to incorporate alternate vendor receiving.
For example, Penguin Random House?
Penguin Random House. Now, they'd already had functionality in ComicSuite to do alternate vendor receiving for Lunar. And you would think, well, what's the difference? It's one more thing, but apparently something in it, like probably just the way that it interpreted the specific Penguin Random House invoices, needed to be patched in. So in doing that, the joke of it is that somebody, a non-Diamond employee, had already created a program that you could upload the Penguin Random House invoice, and you could then download a version that ComicSuite would understand, and that's how we did it this past week. And there was only one error with it. So we almost didn't even need to do this, but it's like, well, sure, we'll patch it anyway. It's probably best practices. There's other things that they were fixing in there or whatever, maybe.
Yeah, it wasn't just this one thing.
Yeah. It's software.
Never just one thing.
Yeah, it's software. A patch is like one major thing, which is why it went out, and then everything else they've patched between, now and the last patch. All the little fixes they made. The problem is what it ended up doing is we have 3 open catalogs right now because of the way that the different vendors work. For this month's one catalog, October for December shipping, we have a Diamond catalog, a Lunar catalog for DC, and a Penguin Random House catalog for Marvel. Those are all open catalogs that are currently being worked on. What this patch ended up doing is closing both of the alternate vendor open invoices, or open catalogs, the Lunar and the Penguin Random House one, which then affected our ability to add people for subscriptions for any comics shipping from Marvel or DC in December. So even if you were just like, oh, I want to add Kang, and Kang has an issue coming out in November and then another issue coming out in December, the November issue would post fine, the December issue would get kicked back because it would say, oh, you don't have enough on order to fill this subscription, which of course you don't. You haven't finished that catalog yet.
You haven't placed those orders. Those orders don't exist in the system.
Right. But as far as ComicSuite is concerned, those catalogs are both closed. And the problem is you can't reopen them. There is a function in ComicSuite to let you change the status of an initial order to unsent, which opens it up again and allows you to manipulate it. The problem is that function predates the idea of alternate vendor anything in ComicSuite. So that function does not reopen alternate vendor catalogs that have been closed. So very early for me, Thursday morning, a day I was off, I was getting responses from Diamond about the ticket we had opened Wednesday night saying, this is broken, and oh my god, it needs to be fixed if we're able to do our monthly orders for Penguin Random House or Lunar. And the first few emails were like, oh, do this, and me having to say, that doesn't work, and them saying, okay, well, did you do it on both of them? And me saying, I did it on both of them, it doesn't work on either one. Here's a screenshot, it doesn't work. And then finally a technician saying, okay, can I remote into the system? And this is 10:30 in the morning on a Thursday. The store's not open yet. I'm at home, so I'm like, sure. I will remote in and let you in. I'll talk on the phone with you about what the problem is, and then watching the technician kind of pick around areas where I'm just watching it going, that's not right. And then eventually I'm finding the right area and doing stuff. And it's this sort of like turn it off and back on again version of tech support where it's him redoing everything I had already done and finding it wasn't working. And I get that you have to do that, but it's like, this is time sensitive. I wanted this to be done before the store opened at 11, so the people working at the store on Thursday could actually ring people up. The ComicSuite database is on our register. If a technician is working on any portion of it, you can't ring people up. It's a gigantic pain to work around them. But he kept doing stuff and it kept not working. Eventually he was able to run a query in SQL Server, which is the database that kind of houses all the information in ComicSuite.
You said too much.
And I could see that it worked. It reopened 3 catalogs, and then we went back in, and the Diamond one was never a problem, but that was fine. And we looked at the Marvel and DC ones, and those were both open, great. And so I went into my customer account and started adding titles to make sure everything was working right. We did a Marvel book, great, perfect. We did a DC book, exact same problem. It would not post to the October catalog, and like when it would offer you the option of like, oh, do you want to do it as a special order, pulling from what few copies might still be in there, it would error out. So we'd have to, there's a workaround where you can create a special order for something that then adds it to a brand new order, which is the hack way of doing it. And it creates way more problems down the line, and it creates additional problems because now people have subscriptions where 1 month's worth of that subscriptions exists in a different field. So if they make any changes, it's much harder to deal with that. If you drop a title, it will remove all the copies that you have in your subscription field, but not the copies you have in your special order field. So we would then have to go in to make sure that, oh, you don't want to still get 1 month's worth of Nightwing or whatever. So that's a big hassle, but it's a workaround. And then that night I found out, oh, for some reason, whatever happened also screwed up all the line items in the DC catalog. They're all the wrong lines. Like, you can look at it and it'll say, okay, this is a Batman book, but the amount of copies it's asking you to order is way wrong for what you have for Batman. And then if you look at the data, it's like, no, it thinks that's the Batman B cover, or it thinks that's a copy of Superman, or it thinks that's a Robin's comic, or whatever. So it's just, the whole thing is 1,000% broken. And we got an email from Diamond this morning that said, yeah, all we can do is give the backup of your system over to the programmers to make sure it doesn't happen again. We cannot fix this catalog. It will not be fixed.
For October, you're boned.
Yeah. So now I have to go in and like basically reconfigure that initial order so that there's something for Patrick to then work off of in a few days, to make sure that people's orders actually get filled. And then it's going to be even more incumbent upon Patrick, probably, at FOC for the DC books to go in item by item and line by line and make sure, okay, is everyone down for this? Is it all looking correct? Because the initial orders, we kind of can't trust them. And I'm going to go back tonight and also double check Marvel, because I think Marvel was fine, but now I'm just like, God, is Marvel screwed up too?
This is coming off of a month where we just had to go through and delete special orders from everybody for DC books because
second month in a row.
Month in a row.
Yep. That's why if it happens again for the third month, after telling them a month ago, this has happened twice and needs to be fixed, that's why we're done with Pullbox, because it is a tremendous time sink to fix that.
Like on FOCs today, the DC Lunar FOCs I was doing, it was only a handful of titles that needed to be deleted. Mm-hmm. Most of it didn't have that issue.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, look, we're finally getting to the end of this.
And I think I brought this up before, maybe, I guess I can't remember if we talked about this, but the problem is it's also difficult to tell what is an erroneous duplication, what is an out-of-date subscription that it's trying to post a special order on, and what is a legitimate, I only want this issue special order. We had 2 people, I think, not get an issue of Action Comics that they had ordered only that issue of. and we had deleted it because it was full. The whole file was full of duplicates.
Yeah.
And then
you assume those were part of it as well.
Yeah, and they got caught up in it.
Every time, as I'm doing it for the DC books, every time there's somebody in the special order is where it's not a duplication. Like, it could be, let's say it's 14 people who are in the special order section, and 13 of them are in the subscription section as well. I delete the 13, I leave the 1.
Right.
I would rather pull it for that person and be like, I don't want this, I don't get this title, than to miss it for them.
Because, sometimes it's like, oh, I was down for that title a month ago, but then I deleted it. And that's why the system is still like, no, but...
Like you had just mentioned.
When the catalog was generating it, it kept that, and then it regenerated it at the end. It's just stupid stuff. Yeah, a huge pain. And, I basically, like, this is the month where Pullbox and ComicSuite have gotten so broken that they are basically unusable. And... yeah, I mean, I spent some time talking to Brian at Managed Comics last night, and it's all looking very positive, but it's also looking like it's going to be a while. Hopefully it's just a few weeks, but it's like literally every day there's some new fresh hell with ComicSuite and Pullbox. And
well, I'm hoping that Managed Comics happens before I do all those DC FOCs.
I hope so too.
But I mean, that's a narrow window. That's like 5 weeks away.
Yeah, which it's entirely possible. Like he basically had said that they're kind of at a point where it's stable enough with the stuff they've already released that they can start adding in things like the initial order system and the FOC system that they already kind of have. They just need to kind of code it and roll it out.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's probably going to also yield a whole bunch of weird bugs and errors that they're going to have to spend a couple weeks figuring out.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, Managed Comics and Shopify for us, 3 or 4 weeks probably. I mean... even that feels kind of optimistic. I'd love it before Thanksgiving, certainly. American Thanksgiving, Brian, but for the record.
Otherwise
we missed that deadline.
We missed it by almost a week.
But no, I mean, it's always fun talking to Brian because he's a guy that is trying to understand a lot of elements of the market that he might not be personally familiar with or might not put a ton of stock in. And that's a thing that's super crucial for someone trying to design a point of sale and subscription management system that is responsive to all parts of the market. Challengers runs a store that overlaps with other stores maybe 25%, and every shop is like that. Like, I would say most shops are like 75% unique as far as how they do things and what things they want to do, even if it all feels like you're selling the same products from the same vendors for the same prices. It's like, it's not that. There's the ways you do things are so different, and designing a system that can accommodate all of those different ways of doing things. He was talking about some stuff they're going to be adding in the future and sort of like explaining it to me, like, does this make sense? And for a couple of things, I'm like, yeah, because that's exactly how ComicSuite does it. And that's how Pullbox does it, and that's what we're used to.
Nice.
So it's a thing that's like, yeah, that should be really easy for us to get on board with because we already understand the logic behind that.
But, every Friday when Gina comes in, she's like, in her head, she's like, is this the day I have to learn a whole new system?
Not yet. But yeah, it's getting there, and yeah.
Well, I look forward to... when the time comes, being able to have both you and Molly Jan explain it to me.
Sure.
Not just you.
Yeah,
because I guarantee you she picks it up faster than I do.
Probably, yeah. But I think you'll pick it up, and you'll, again, because of how portable it is, it's not something you have to remote into. It's not something that lives on one database in our store. You'll have a lot more opportunity to play around with it, and we can test stuff out on days that you're not even in the store.
Sure.
It's fine. And then again, a lot of it's just going to be stuff that you'll interact with through Chrome because it's like that's where the Shopify login is.
Yeah, I'll go to that.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it all looks very promising, but it's not ready yet, and it's not ready yet at a time where it's like, God damn it, do I wish it was ready? Because the Diamond version is so bad right now, and it has like decreased in usability every single week for the last like 2 months. And I mean, technically even before then, but like, it's accelerated in the last couple months.
Brian, I just want to say you have not let us down.
I mean, I feel let down a little bit. Not let down, but like, I told him, like, you didn't let us down. I've been let down. I work in comics. I've been let down by a lot of people and things. This isn't one of those. But I mean, yeah, there's definitely a sense of like, I had hoped this would be ready to go before Diamond completely disintegrated, but that didn't happen. So we have to deal with Diamond disintegrating.
Wow, you're just turning those screws.
Sure. I mean, that's how I feel. Like,
sure.
this is genuinely a thing that when he was saying this is the date we expect to go live with it and this is when we expect to roll out wide, it's like great because that's going to be well before PRH switches, like Marvel switches over to PRH, so we won't have to deal with any of the stuff that Diamond's going to get wrong or screw up or whatever. We're not going to have to deal with the shitty way that we do DC FOCs and then having to also do that for Marvel FOCs now. And it's like, nope, we do. That's it. Like, that's because there's no alternative yet. The end.
How was Penguin receiving week 2 for Marvel?
Better. We had, I think, one box that was catastrophically screwed up, and of course it was the one with all of the incentive variants and all of the, like, a lot of the variant covers we only got for subscribers.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff where it's like, you know, you get damaged rack copies. It's like, I don't know, people can pick around and choose one that they like better than another, and a lot of rack copy people don't care, but it's like, man, if all of your Gamma Flight variants are chewed up, it's like, that's 3 subscribers. I gotta say, I don't have your book, and it's the last issue in the series, and you probably want to read it. Like, one person just like, do you just want to take it? And then you can buy the better one if it ever gets replaced, which I don't know that it will. And they said, sure.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see if this week's has changes as far as packing and shipping go.
Did you not see the pictures?
No, this upcoming week.
Yeah. Did you not see the pictures for stuff that's going up?
I mean, I showed you a picture that somebody got of some things, but I guess not.
Yeah, I mean, it's the box, and then they bubble wrap it, and they put another box. So, I mean, that's a huge improvement right there.
Sure, but I mean, it's one thing to see a picture of it, but then to physically get it, to see how beat up the boxes are.
Yeah, we won't know for sure until Monday, but
Right.
I'm certainly more optimistic than I was this past week, where they told us nothing will have changed yet because we already started.
Yeah, because it was too fast. Yeah,
and it was like, oh, then they're definitely going to get screwed up. We were lucky in the sense that UPS only, kicked around one box.
Yeah,
but it was still
happen,
a bad box. You know how hard you have to work to damage Immortal Hulk 50s? Pretty hard.
You mean from the standpoint of being anti-Semitic, like damaging it as a reputation?
Sure.
Because Joe Bennett did that a while ago.
He did a couple times.
Yeah, he did it pretty easily, too.
Yeah.
So, to answer your question, not that hard.
I guess.
There is a list of books on our episode whiteboard of upcoming books that we have read.
Yep.
Some of us, all of us, what have you.
Uh-huh.
And it was completely my intention to discuss those books this week to get people excited for them. However, we've done enough, and those books won't have come out by next week.
Nope, none of them.
I will say, and we say this every month in a different way, if you are not reading The 6 Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton, you are missing out.
It was so good this week.
There was literally
Issue 5,
a joke in that book that Dow, Molly Jane, and I each went to tell the other person, and we're all the same guy.
It was literally the first thing we each wanted to tell the other about that issue of 6 Sidekicks, because it's such a good joke. It's so good. And then there's like a follow-up on it later, and it's just a good, like, extra punchline. It's so good.
Yeah, just a nice little tip in. So good. The collection for that comes out like January 12th of next year.
Okay, cool.
So we'll have a stack. We were hoping that would be a great Christmas seller, but,
there will be other books. It'll be a great Valentine's Day seller.
Exactly.
If you love somebody, give them 6
It'll be part of the sale. It'll be part of next year's sale.
Yeah, it's true. It definitely will be.
Yeah.
It definitely the thing you want to toss on as long as you're getting 25% off.
Thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.